coach said let him play next week. Okay, we ready? Jeremy, did you talk about injuries?
No,
You're gonna wait till
I'm
Thursday.
inform,
You're gonna do that
I'll let
Thursday.
you guys know on Thursday when you come out.
Yeah.
What's going on.
Yeah, first, Kamen Rucker is such a valuable part of this program. He is tough, he's smart, he's a great leader. He's the 4th leading pass rusher in the country, and he's got to be dominant for us next year. And we're just so excited about him moving forward. We've been through 9 practices, and there's a great competition, a lot of energy on the field. Players are having fun. We're kind of like we were 2 years ago. You lose 4 starters in the offensive line. You lose a number 1 draft choice at quarterback. A lot of question marks on our team. Got a lot of the older guys that are out. 4 receivers are out for spring. 2 tight ends are out for spring. Some safeties are not being able to have contact. So a lot of young guys are getting work, and it's fun to watch them work. All the practices have been pretty good. They've all competed really well. They've been about even, except last Thursday the defense totally dominated, and that's good, especially in the spring that the defense stepped up. But we've had a very, very physical spring. Guys are getting after it. They're hitting every day. We had a long scrimmage that was full speed tackle on Saturday, and we're working a lot live with the kicking game. And we haven't done that much in the past, but we've got to find more depth. We've got to do a better job running the ball. We've got to do a better job stopping the run. We've got to do a better job in special teams. And then we said that we got to limit penalties. We got to force more turnovers. And at the same time, we've got to do a better job of continuing to create explosives, but stop explosives. And Jeff went back and looked at every explosive play we gave up last year, and most of them were because of missed assignments. So that's something that we're working on really, really hard. Fans will be excited. We've got the ACC Network coming in for Saturday's practice. We decided to have them do a practice instead of do our spring game, because we didn't want everybody on TV seeing our spring game. We've got some new things going on that we're doing. And then we'll have the spring game at 3 o'clock for our fans on the 20th. But this Saturday morning, ACC Network will be out for all the practice sessions. Good competition at quarterback. Both guys are playing really, really well. It's fun. Max is what we hoped he would be. He's big, he's strong, he's been very accurate. And Connor probably had his best day today. So he continues to get better. Running back role, we're excited about Darwin Barlow. He had a really good scrimmage on Saturday and looked the best he has looked. He made a couple of good plays again today. Davion Goss is a very good freshman. Caleb Hood, we're concerned about. He's still out with his hamstring. So he's missed most of spring. I think he was out here maybe 2 days in shorts. So that bothers us. Young wide receivers are looking really, really good. So that's been fun. The older guys are being out. I'm seeing some toughness in the offensive line. Randy's done a good job of losing 4 starters and putting a new bunch together, and they're competing. And we got 2 new ones coming in at the end. So it's going to be fun to watch those guys go. Ted Monachino is really bringing along our defensive line. Travis Shaw has played by far the best he's ever played since he's been here. So we have had really good practices with him. And Javari Ritzie has been very active inside. And so both of those guys have stepped up and played well. And then we're still continuing to work at building depth with Amari Campbell playing with power. And then we've got 4 other young linebackers with 2 coming in that need to step up. They're doing well. It's a different one every day, so we've got to come out of spring practice with those guys stepping up. And we're really talented in the secondary. I've been impressed with Jakeem Harris and Stick Lane stepped up. So those guys are along with the guys that we already had, and Stick not coming till June and then having a hamstring pull. He's playing really, really well right now. And the same thing with Stewart, the junior college player that came in. He's doing a good job at corner, and Huzzy's back at corner, so that helps us as well. Caleb Costa's been out a couple of days, but most of the time he's with the baseball team. Questions?
With respect to Max, he's got a ton of experience and grew up with his dad in football. Have you seen a lot of that here, and how much does that kind of help Connor being around a guy who is just oozing football pretty much his whole life?
Yeah, Max Johnson's thrown over 900 balls in the SEC. So he's been in big arenas, he's been in big games, he's been hit. He's played at two of the top SEC schools, so he brings a lot of experience and confidence in here. And I think it's helped Connor. Connor's really competing. So as I said, he had his best day. He had a good scrimmage on Saturday, had his best practice today. And you see we're sitting out here late, and there's quarterbacks down there throwing now. So they stay out late and throw. But we've got a good player in Max, and Connor's really competing. So they're both playing at a high level right now.
As a follow-up to Max, when we talked to him back in, I guess it was February, he kind of scoffed a little bit about the notion of being a game manager, being described as a game manager, and he said there's a lot more to his game. What have you seen from his game that is in above what a game manager would be?
You know, like Drake and Sam, he runs much better than we thought he did. We thought he could run well, but at 6'5", 230, he can really run. So he's made some plays with scrambles that have really surprised us. So that was a real positive, and he's got a real strong arm. So I think the fact that somebody would call him a game manager is probably because his dad won a Super Bowl, and he was raised like Drake and Sam in a quarterback family, and everybody knows who they are, but they've been studying football since they were little kids. So he's been very impressive. He'll be fun for people to watch in the spring game.
Mack, you said you had a long scrimmage the other day, and kind of wanted to get into that with you. Like, can you give us sort of a full breakdown of what you guys came out of there with, just in terms of an assessment, like good, bad?
Yeah.
What were the thoughts that you came out of there with?
The first thing is that we didn't get anybody hurt, and hit for 2 hours. So that was really good.
Like tackle all the way to the ground
Yes.
type deal?
Yeah. We had a game, and we've had live punt, block, and return. We had 2 live kickoffs Saturday. So we're really trying to get better in our kicking game, and we've got to develop more depth. We've said it every year, we haven't done it. So we've got to. I mean, and that's one thing that Jeff Collins is all into. He's very positive, he's very upbeat, he's very inclusive, but he like me, feels like we've got to play too deep, and that'll help us where we're not tired at the end of the year and drop off. And we are playing our best players on special teams. So we are working really, really hard every day. We're incorporating live special teams into practice. We've never done that. So we're going after it. That's another area we've just got to step up. And another area that we've looked at, Adam, is we have too many people hurt. So we're looking at every individual player and his body, and we've got our trainer, our nutritionist, and our strength coach meeting with the coach every day before practice to look at every guy that's out there, and especially somebody who's had a pull, and say what's his history, why, and what can we do to make sure nutrition has to be different, hydration has to be different, maybe the stretching has to be different. What are we missing that we're having too many pulls? So we're looking at all that. I thought Saturday both quarterbacks, we had our goals. Both quarterbacks looked good. We didn't run Omarion very much, so the 2 running backs that were out there, Darwin really did some good things, and he did better Saturday than he had done in the other practices, so that was good in a game setting. And then the offensive line's been impressive. They're getting better. They got a ways to go, but they're getting better. And we got those 2 huge tackles. Austin Blaskey's done a good job. We had with our center last year, he's continued to grow. And then Willie's been tough as nails, and he's a good leader, so that's really helped us. Still looking at the other guard position, but you've got guys like Aiden Banfield that's a tough young guy that's really stepped up and doing some good things. You've got R.J. Grigsby, but you've got Adorno and Malik McGowan, and both of them are playing and doing some good things. So it's fun to watch them. And then you've got guys at tackle that Trey Green's playing much better than he's played. He stayed healthy, number one, but he's lost a lot of weight, and he's really done a good job. Tight ends, your two starters are out, so it's been really good for Jake Johnson to get a good look. And wide receivers, you got a bunch of young ones. Chris Culliver made one of the best catches I've ever seen in the end zone Saturday. It's one of those one-handed deals, and Jordan Shipp just continues to impress. And you start looking at Alex Taylor's really good, and Barry Green's real fast. So those guys are what we thought they were as we came in. Defensively, we're just better. We're being really aggressive. He's blitzing a lot. He's disguising a lot and blitzing, which has surprised the quarterbacks. Des Evans has stepped up. He and Bo Atkinson both can play where they are. We've got to find a guy behind Kamen at the jack position. Inside, you start looking at guys. We know Kevin Hester, but I mentioned Travis and Javari Ritzy, and also Joel Starlings has made some plays. He stepped up and done a good job in some areas. We're playing Janai Norwood both ways. He played defensive tackle the first 8 practices, and now today he moved over to offensive tackle. So he'll be, at the end of the spring, we'll look at it and see where he fits the best, but he's really a good athlete, and we've looked at him. And like I said, the young linebackers are making some plays, and so it's fun to watch all these guys play and try to figure out who's going to be out there.
So Mack,
Appreciate that.
As far as the passing game, I mean, how'd you kind of split up, which quarterback worked with which receivers? Like, did one have more returning or experienced guys, and one have more younger guys?
It's a great question, and spring practices are going to be different now with the portal. Everybody's thinner. So you've got to really look at spring games, you got to look at spring practice. So what we've done is our blue offense is the first offense, and our white offense is the second offense. We have rotated Connor and Max every time. One of them takes blue, one of them takes white, and then we flip it. So they've had exactly the same number of plays with the blue and the white, and then we haven't played the younger quarterbacks much. Merdinger came in and got a 10-play series at the end of the scrimmage the other day, but we are giving those guys the same advantage. We said, is it bad if they're playing with the white, and the white's not as experienced or not as good right now? And you know what? Both of them are playing with the white, so they're both having exactly the same opportunities. And then we got to figure out which one's playing the best.
Some of the guys, we talked to a few of them about 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about Coach Collins and his intensity. And he said that he apologized to him when he first met with him, said, I'm going to apologize now for all the things I'm going to say to you over the next 6 months. What has the difference been hearing a voice like that on defense, and not to criticize Gene, but it's just different than Gene? And how do you think the guys are responding to the way he goes about things?
You know, Gene and Jay Bateman were both really good at what they do. And it worked great for us some, and it didn't work as well some. I would think Jeff's kind of in between the two. He's a very upbeat, positive. He lifts them up. He's like a kid. He run around and chest bumps them, and he high fives them, and he's cutting up with them, and he's all inclusive with everybody. He knows everybody's name. He's really aggressive but simple. So I really like what I see, and the kids are responding to it. The Thursday practice, I don't think the offense made a first down. I mean, it is the most dominant I've seen since we've been here. And then Saturday was more even, and today was more even. But he's very confident and gives them confidence, but he's fun. He has fun in everything he does, and I think that's something that he brings. He's a breath of fresh air when you look at every day. It's like he's having the most fun he's ever had in his life. You
mentioned a few minutes ago that he cited that missed assignments last year as being one of the big issues, and that there's also a lot of disguising. How do you work in disguising a lot when it's not going to be part of the assignment with a group that maybe had some issues with missed assignments?
I hired him because he runs a very similar defense to what we've been running for the 5 years we've been here. So there wouldn't be a lot of new teaching for the players. I asked him as much as he could to use a lot of the terminology, and he's done that. So there's a quick learning curve. And what he's doing is I always loved the fact that you could look complicated and be simple. And that's what he's doing. He's simplifying calls. Well, he's not doing as much, but he's being more aggressive with what it is. And that's been the fun thing for them. But just listening to them, they're really buying into it. And that's the thing. I go talk to them at lunch, or what do you think? What do you see different? And they're all in.
Back when you played coach, all practices seemed to be physical. Then you kind of got away from it. Are we going back to that? When you played back in the days, more physical practices?
Yeah, we had so many players, and everybody just hit all the time, and nobody ever worried about it. And shoot, if you had a concussion when I played, they said, how many fingers? And I'd say 2, and they'd say, that's close enough. Get back in there.
Smelling salts.
Go, yeah. And our water was in a hose, and they had salt tablets, and those were supposed to help you get through the last part of practice. And we ran sprints till we dropped after it was over. So the only thing I can figure is we didn't work near as hard as we all thought we did, or we would have died. Because we didn't have nutritionists, we didn't have strength programs. When I was at Florida State, you'd walk by and they'd say, there's a universal gym. If it's open, use it some. I mean, that was your strength coach. So kids are better taken care of in so many ways now than they were then. We got a GPS to see how much they can run. So what we're trying to do is continue to be physical, and the one of the real arts in coaching is how much can you hit, how much can you be game-like and stay healthy, and that's just what you do. And we're really pushing the limit to make sure that we can get as much physical activity as we can get, continue to grow to get tougher, and try to keep everybody healthy.
Mack, you mentioned Travis Shaw is somebody I think you said playing better than he ever has. I mean, not to sound too dramatic with this, but do you think, it's sort of now or never for him, or has that been impressed upon him that, these next steps have to be made in his development?
I think it's more, it's his time. A lot of the young guys that have so much publicity, and they're so big, and they're so dominant in high school, then they get to college, and they're playing against a different group of people, and things happen faster for them. And a lot of young ones that are big linemen don't come through. Zach Rice is playing better right now than he's played for 2 years. And those guys get so much publicity.
Right.
And I think Ted sitting down with him and talking to him about the NFL. Brian Simmons sitting down with him saying, you're a number 1 draft choice about to happen. You got to make it happen, though. You've been here 2 years, and we've seen some improvement. We've seen some production, but it's time, man. It's time. So step up. Let's start being who you came here to be. And he's really responded to that. He's been really positive in practice. He's fought through some injuries. Maybe the second day in shorts, he really twisted his knee, and I thought he was hurt bad. And he laid there for a second, and he touched it and got up and went right back into practice, and he hadn't done that in the past. So I'm really, really pleased with what I see with his growth, his toughness, and I think Ted and Jimmy Lindsey is here to help too. So he's got 2 really experienced, long-time successful defensive line coaches to help him.
In the past, you might not have seen him the rest of practice when you're talking about the knee thing, right? Yeah.
No, and that's just who he was. If he got hurt, it's hard for him, and right now he's fighting through it. He got a cramp the other day in practice because he's working so hard. So he's working some with the blue team. So I'm really encouraged with him, for him and with him.
What surprised you the most about just Jeff as a coach / person since he joined you?
When you coached against him, you saw the Waffle House, and you saw him lifting weights before games and all that. And what you see when he gets here is he's really smart, he's really driven, he's really nice, he's very thoughtful. And I think that was to draw attention to his program. I really do. And here, he didn't do any of that here. But he's fun. The thing that I have trouble with people in our building who have low energy. That really wears me out because it's a high energy business, and he is high energy. And I mean, he comes in like he's on pills in the morning at 6, and he leaves at night like he's hyped, and that's just, he has fun. And I think he's helped our building by bringing that fun to the building.
Mack, you mentioned the portal, and you had 2 quarterbacks who were fighting for the job. One could still leave. How do you handle that between what's best for the kid and what's best for your program?
Yeah, Art, that's a great question. I think we're 8 days away from the portal. It's the 16th. And the portal will come the 16th, and we won't even play our spring game till the 20th. So we could have somebody leave the 16th and not be here for the game. We could have somebody tell somebody they're going into the portal on the 20th and play in the spring game and walk into my office afterwards and say, man, I'm out of here. I'm going to the portal. So Art, it's just different. You try to keep an open conversation with them. And at the same time, we're in the kid business, so we want what's best for the kid. And like our 2 quarterbacks, we don't know which one's going to start. It was that way with
Drake and Connor.
really Drake and Jacoby Criswell, but it was also that way with those 3 when Sam got here.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to watch them go through summer. You want to watch them compete and lead to see who really earns the spot at the end of summer and into preseason. So, but we have all, since I've been here and since the portal came on, we have been dreadfully honest with every young person and trying to tell him, here's exactly what we see and where you stand here. And if you don't feel good about this and you don't think you can change it, then let's help you go somewhere else. And that's just the way we are. And we'll try to help every young person he can. And that's some tough conversations.
Do you
it's
have a
been
plan
good.
to get the 3rd stringer ready in case one of the quarterbacks?
Well, it's hard to get a 3rd teamer ready.
Yeah.
Usually you're in
a
trouble.
plan to
but,
what you're going to do if that happens.
yeah, but we're trying to get a 1st right now, and we're trying to get 2 that can play till we get to the 3rd. But today it would be Michael Merdinger.
Mack, who do you have? Who's getting the reps now that Cayman's not practicing at that spot? I know you said you need to find somebody there. But like, who are you looking at there, and who may be the most capable at this point?
Yeah, the guys in that room right now would be Tyler Thompson was in there more today. Jay Brian Harvey's got some lower leg things that he's got to get fixed, so I don't know that he'll practice the rest of spring. So he would be in that position. He's had a really good spring to this point. Malachi Hambrick and Curtis Simpson. So those would be the guys there. Jeff's even to a point too that if Kamen was out and they were all playing good, you could even move Bo Atkinson over there, and let him play some. But those would be the guys right now that are competing in that spot.
Gotcha.
And with Kamen, again, you could wait till after spring to get his finger fixed, but this gives him 2 more weeks to get ready for weightlifting for the summer, and we've seen enough of him, so you're not going to play him a lot anyway. So let's let the young ones be in that position and have them, force them into earning a spot.
Speaking of the young ones, the increase, a little bit of an increase in physicality during spring, is that because you have so many new faces? You've got to know when you guys sit down and do the evaluations and have the meetings you have in the summertime, you got to know a little bit more about some of these guys. So throwing them into the fire would give you a little bit more of that information.
Yeah, absolutely. And in special teams, we've told them if you don't play on special teams, it's hard for you to get a spot because you got to get some coach's attention. So we're doing the same with them there. And we've told them if you're not ready to do all this, we got it. You're a freshman. You're young, but if you want to play in the fall, you got to do it, and you got to do it now.
Do you anticipate, I'm sorry, as a follow-up to that, do you anticipate, because you had so many freshmen come in, that you probably will have a few more that can handle some of those responsibilities in the fall because they will have had 8 months here as opposed to someone that comes in June?
Yes, they're more like a sophomore.
Yeah.
Because you think they've been through a college semester, they've had a nutrition program, they've had a strength program, they've had an off-season program, and they've had a spring practice and a lot of meetings with their coaches. So that's one of the true advantages for coming in early.
Yeah, Mack, you mentioned the offensive line a little bit earlier. Obviously, a lot of new guys, kind of on that first team and things like that. How have you kind of seen them, come together, I guess, in a sense, and, try to establish some continuity? And then also, like, to what extent would I guess, offensive line have like a quote unquote chemistry? Like, obviously there's an individual blocking assignment, but I mean, working cohesively as a group, how have you kind of seen them?
Yeah, chemistry is a great word. I think this team has great chemistry. Like I thought 2 years ago our team did. They're having fun, they're competing, they're getting along, their coaches are all getting along, the staff's very close. They're trying to do what's best for each other, and that doesn't happen in a lot of staffs across the country. And I think that's a huge part of this. But chemistry with players is, that's got to be with the coach and each other. And Coach Dungy really helped us with some things. He said he told the receivers, he said, where are the receivers? And they were all sitting back there together. And he said, good. He said, how much you want to win an ACC championship? And they all threw their hands up. And he said, how much you want to win a national championship? And they all threw their hands up. And he said, would it be worth it for you to win a national championship if you didn't catch a ball? Not one? And they went, He said, yeah. Yeah, you got to be all in, man. And he said, until you can really pull for somebody else on your team, even at your expense, you're not going to be where you need to be. You're going to be good, you can't be great. But to be great, you got to be all in. And I really feel like that's what this team is trying to do. And the offensive line, which you asked about, if you think about it, Randy's coached all of them except for Blasky. And he's a tough guy at Georgia. He was their sixth guy. We know a lot about him because of Stacy Serwins. And he's come in and really fit in. And it's been, he's tough, he's smart. He's just like the one we just had that came in from Miami, because he did a tremendous job for us. And then you think about, we feel like that Howard Sampson has a chance to be really good. I mean, 6'8" and 335 coming off the bus. He looks good. You put he and Trey Green walk on in first. I always said we at least look pretty. And that's true. We do when they walk in. And Trey's a year older and better. But Randy's had Howard, so he knew exactly what he was. And he's been better than I anticipated he would be coming in. And then you've got Malik McGowan and Adorno, been around here for a long time. Zach Rice is going on his, third year, second?
Third, yeah.
Third, maybe?
Yeah,
It'll be
third
start
year.
of the third. So he's getting better. So a lot of guys have had a lot of snaps, and that helps us. I think we'll have more depth in the offensive line this year than we've had.
I mean, you mentioned Trey Green a couple times now. Like, where's his game at right now? How have you seen him develop, and just kind of, where do you see him as a player at this point?
He's not a guy that you just throw out there and he's going to be great right now, but he has improved so much since last year, and he's staying healthy, and he's managing his weight, that we feel like he's got a chance to be really good.
You mentioned Howard.
Maybe a little dramatic, but is this a big year for the program, just in general?
I think that's dramatic.
And it is.
No, I really think every year's a big year anymore. It's amazing. We have no patience in our country anymore. We have no patience in our lives. I see coaches making more money than I ever dreamed that coaches would make, and I see them getting fired fast. They're getting fired in the second year, the third year. If we win 11 next year, everybody be mad because we didn't win 13, but think we're on our way. And then if you go back and win 9 the next, or they're over, he's too old. That's easy at my age. So we don't worry about any of that. We just want to be the best team we can be.
I was
Mack,
gonna ask
who's taking Drake in the NFL draft?
I don't know. I'm actually today. I'm having Clyde, Freddie, and Clyde Christensen, Freddie Kitchens, and Ted Monachino and Brian Simmons call all of our pro guys that are going into the NFL this year and sit down with them and explain what the draft really is, because nobody knows. I've been watching this thing 50 years, and there's been so many kids disappointed because they thought and they heard and I'm going to go here and then I'm awful, and so they're going to tell them what it's like sitting in that draft room, what happens, what to anticipate. Don't go to parties, stay by yourself, and then when you make a team, you get on that team, you got to make the team. So don't worry about the draft as much. But I'm going to sit down and have each one of them talk to them about that. There's some horrible criticism this time of the year, every year. Some of it may be to mask somebody because one team wants them more than another one, so they're going to say some bad things about them. Some may be to get attention from media, because I watched it when I was in your job. So I just felt today, I made the decision. I'm going to tell the staff. I told Brian this morning. I think it's really important for all those guys to sit down with guys that have that experience in that room and tell them exactly what happens in those rooms, so they don't get excited about something somebody said. I've seen pro teams call a guy and say, we're going to draft you, never call him back, and 2 guys later draft somebody else. So it's a hard process for these young people.
Like,
How about the guy
don't
who
listen to what
says,
fullbacks.
drafting Drake May will get the head coach fired. You saw that one, right?
Yeah.
You believe that?
No, I don't believe that.
No, I mean, but you believe you said that,
yeah.
right? Yes.
No, well,
Just don't listen to
How
former
does you know that,
fullbacks, right?
yeah, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about Howard Sampson. You just mentioned a few minutes ago that I guess he's maybe surprised a little bit better than you anticipated at this stage. When we talked to him back in January, he said that he viewed this as being a project because he has 3 years, that he didn't expect to come in right away and be a starter. So what has he done that has surprised you and the staff? And how much surprised is Randy maybe at what you see now as opposed to what he saw before he left North Texas?
We'll get you guys to talk to Randy, because that'd be an interesting question for him. What about North Texas as compared to now? What's different? I'm sure you'd say older, more mature, and he's so big. I mean, when you look at he and Trey, I mean, you're 6'8" on both edges, and that's got great length. We've really challenged our defensive guys on fewer penalties. We've challenged our defensive guys on tackles for loss and sacks. So he's been blocking Cameron Rucker every day. So it'll make you better or make you quit. I mean, because he's hard. And we're rewarding the defensive players who have forced penalties or sacks. So we've said Travis Shaw's so big and strong, he should force a holding penalty every time or get the sack. So come on, man. Let's do it. Cameron Rucker. And I mean, they can't block Cameron. So you have to have a chip on him if you are. And he's learned enough now, when he sees the chip coming, he runs right through their middle and runs over them. So he's just so hard to block. So I think that's really helped Howard, because he's had to block him every day. And Kamen came up to me the other day and he said, Coach, offensive line's better. It's harder to get there. So I'm impressed. So that's really, really good. But I think with he and Travion Gray being that long, you got to rush way around them. I mean, they're just huge. And then Leftwich, from Georgia Tech, the same. He's 6'6", 330, 335. So we're going to have 3 really big tackles that have got length, and I think that'll really help us.
Mack, what sort of challenge or difficulty even is it in grading these quarterbacks with the youth you have just in spring at wideout? Because I mean, obviously, you know, you need a guy to run a right route and separate to be able to put the ball on him. I mean, like, is that, have you all found yourselves like, look, if that's someone with more experience, that ball's completed in terms of when you're grading these guys out?
Adam, we have, and it's a good question. That's why we felt like we had to make sure that they were throwing to the same people all through the practice. So one of them didn't have an advantage over the other one because this receiver is more experienced than this one. And you think you've got 4 receivers out that are really good players, and you got 2 tight ends out that are both starters.
Yeah.
So we have looked at that, and we've told the quarterbacks, don't be frustrated. Try to handle it when things are happening bad. That's what happened to the offense the other day. They got their head down when things weren't going well, and I got mad at them, but they competed. They tried hard. They just didn't flip it, and that's what we said. You got to flip it. We've got to do a better job of winning games when we don't play our best. We haven't done very good at that, and we've got to do that. We can't just say, well, we weren't on today. Well, Drake didn't play good. We can't do that. We've got to figure out ways to win when we're not playing our best, because you're not always going to play your best. And Virginia was a great example. I mean, that's a game we had to figure out a way to win as coaches, and we didn't do that, and as players. So that's what we're working hard on. So we've told them that these guys may be playing. So don't get mad at them. Let's work with them, and let's just handle it and do it. And Connor and Max are both mature. They're both real smart. They both like each other. They're both really upbeat and positive. And they just, you wouldn't see any reaction out of them. Because some of them are working with, Andrew Rosinski's a freshman offensive tackle working against Des Evans. It's going to be a sack. And I just tell him, run by them. They just sit there and handle it. And I've been very impressed with both quarterbacks.
Looking at that secondary, how beneficial has it been to really have Huzzy back at his natural position at corner? He pretty much was star all last year. How beneficial has it been just having him at corner?
I thought it really hurt us last year when he had to move inside. It hurt us that DeAndre Boykins didn't get to play, because he's tough and smart and loves football and played a lot of football for us. But it was a double problem when we moved our best corner inside. He made an outstanding interception today. Just broke on a ball from nowhere and would have scored with it, and he's done that 2 or 3 times. So we need him back at corner. And then you've got Marcus Allen out for the rest of spring. So that really helps you have to get these other guys ready. So we'll be deeper at corner than we've been, and we'll be deeper at safety than we've been. And then we're going to look at DeAndre Boykins at safety and star, because we got Caleb Cost, and then we have moved Trey Miller into star some, and he's played really well there. So you've got Caleb Cost, Trey Miller, and Ty. So you've got all those guys back now there. And another guy that's really stepped up at corner is Ty Adams. He's intercepted a ball about every day. So he's doing some good things. And he had a broken wrist, and we didn't know how much he was going to get to do, and he's done a good job.
He's a playmaker, isn't he?
He really is. He is. And he's got to tackle better. He's quarterback, coming out of high school. So but he can just make plays. It's amazing. And he's got great hands. He's a really good athlete. So he's got some length. Zion Ferguson, we got some guys now that are back there. You got Thompson and Patterson and Malcolm Ziegler. Malcolm intercepted a ball today. He ran down. Connor had a quarterback draw for about 60 yards on Saturday, and Malcolm ran him down. So he's got big time ability. So it's fun to watch all these young ones and see them improve every day.
Tyrone Stewart is a little bit different than those guys because he's already played in junior college. How is he balancing the sense of urgency, because he only has 2 years, with also being a very new guy and new at this level? A little bit of like a freshman in some ways.
Yeah, he's real quiet. It's all different. I think there were about 200 people in his hometown, maybe 800. Yeah. I asked him one day, "Hey, you like Chapel Hill?" He said, "It's so big." I thought, that's unusual.
I actually Googled it the other day. I think it's 336 people.
Is it 336? We said, I said, "How many in your high school?" He said, "Not many." So, I mean, it was small. Yeah. So he hit the quarterback the other day, and we said, "You can't hit the quarterback." And he said, "Oh, really? We always did." And I thought, "Yeah, he did." But the kids love him, and his nickname's Dooley. And I asked him why, and he said, "My grandmother started calling me that, and I don't know why." So
Dooley, like Joe Dooley?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we call him Dooley.
All right.
It's easier than Tyran. So, but he's doing a really good job. He's tough. He's smart. He's they're liking to play, and when you've got great competition, everybody has to play better, because we're grading them every minute of every day. And it was funny. Brian Simmons talked to him and said, I used to go as a scout. I'd go into all of the schools and say, does he like football? And he said, every coach always says he loves football. And he said, so I learned, I had to watch to see if he loved football. Does he show up early? Is he working extra? Does he hustle every play? Does he stay on the field and not get hurt? Is he going by all the rules? And he said, that's what I did. Well, Coach Dungy came in and told him the same thing. He said, if you're late to see me, then I either think you don't respect me or you don't want to play. Period. I said, it's easy. I don't have to ask those questions. I know those questions. And he said the same thing. If you're not going to hustle every day, you don't want to play. You say you want to play, but you don't, because show me. Don't tell me. And that's kind of the attitude we've had with these kids. I don't hear it, show me.
I hadn't even thought about asking this, but how important is Brian Simmons' voice to this team and this program in terms of he's so current? Yeah, I don't mean that as a slight against anyone else,
Yeah.
but like he's so, he's obviously so good, a tremendous player, but just, he's so current, you know what I mean?
Well, he's current, and he's been where they want to be. And that's why I love having a Ted Monachino there. I want to be in the NFL. I love having a Clyde Christensen.
Yeah.
I mean, he's coached the best quarterbacks ever, so he's telling quarterbacks what the best quarterbacks ever have heard. Freddie Kitchens, head coach in the NFL. They all want to be in the NFL. And then you get Brian Simmons, who's a first-round draft choice, redshirted here, first-round draft choice, plays a long time in the NFL, will be in the Hall of Fame. And then he comes back and he's a scout for 8 years, and then he's a high school coach for 8 years. So, and he's really tough, and he's very direct. So, the other day he said, you know what, they need to do this. Why don't you tell them that? Tell them after practice. And he did. And he said, I don't want to be negative all the time. But he said, I've seen guys on a plane on a trip for the NFL get cut while they're on the trip. So come on, man. Don't sit around and think this is easy. This isn't easy. And if you're not starting here, you're not going to play in the NFL. So understand. And so he also helped them with what Coach Dungy said about, here's who you are, here's what you need to see, and you're either going to do this or you're not.
Sort of sniffing out
Relatable.
BS type deal.
Yeah.
He's obviously very relatable because he's checked all these different football boxes.
And they love him, and he's around them all the time, eats lunch with them every day. And I see him, he'll walk over and say, "Me." So he's got and he sat down with Travis, and he was one of the ones to say, here's the truth, here's where you are, here's what I see, and I need to see more. And I think he's really helped as well.
Like, it seems like you guys haven't shunned Jakeem too much coming in from NC State.
Do what?
You guys haven't picked on Jakeem too much coming in from NC State.
No, he's been really good, but that's the respect you have. That wouldn't be fair to him coming in, and he's limited. He'll be in the spring game in a yellow like I think Gio Biggers was last year. He and Will Hardy, both are back there. We think he's really good. He's having a good spring, and he would have made a big hit Saturday if he was live. And he's a happy kid. He's a fun kid. But we also feel like it put him in a very uncomfortable position if we keep asking about NC State. That's not why he came. Okay?
You guys good?
That was good.
All right, guys.
That's good.
I think you get